Dumelang, everybody, 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 everybody. Dumelang, 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 dumelang. Dumelang in the house, dumelang in the streets, dumelang, dumelang, dumelang. Bo mama, bo budi, bo sisi. Bo nunus, everybody, anybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Dumelang, hoe gaan dit? Hoe gaan dit? Hoe gaan dit? Gaan dit goed? Ninjani? Ngiyaphila? Kodwa, dumelang king in the house, dumelang, 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 and a happy new year in the very last day of the second month of a brand new year. I hope that you are so expectant. I hope that you are super excited. I hope that as you know, you've been reconciling as we are ending the second month of the brand new year. You have been reconciling, and you've been reconciling forward, not just in terms of passing journals, relating to financials, and not just reconciling to see, okay, do I have the right objectives and the right outcomes written down for the year or for the first term or for the quarter, but also that you've been reconciling forward in terms of yourself, in terms of your relationships, in terms of, if you had to do a value audit. I don't know why I'm speaking financial terms in this episode, but if you had to do a values audit, are your values still the same? Is there a clean audit in terms of your values, or has someone clean audit? Like you sure, but is there any discrepancies that have been found by you? I know that the Baziks were on fasts. I hope that any download that you got during your fast, it will be made manifest by the power and the empowerment of the Holy Spirit. I know that the children are back at school, probably gearing up to start writing tests if they haven't written tests. I know that parents are at it with homework and the likes. I know traffic is not great, but I believe that at this point we have entered into the year. There are things that are still unsettled, but in terms of routines, I'd like to believe that with again baholo bana, everybody, anybody, routines have been settled, only settling of routines. And congratulations to the first time mothers. I don't know why I'm saying this, but congratulations to the first time mothers, congratulations to the first time dads, congratulations, happy anniversary to all and sundry. Congratulations, happy anniversary, happy birthday, to everybody who has been on the birthday journey since like the first of is it January until date. So happy birthday. We are celebrating with you as of into the high hour. May you have many more fruitful, productive, destiny aligned and purpose aligned years to come. May it be that this year once again develops, if it hasn't already, develop into a year of impact in your life. Okay. And I know some of them are going to say, wait again, what about us who are not first-time mothers and first-time fathers and first-time grandparents? This is such milestones that are happening. First-time graduates, my gosh. Even those who have gone to crash for the first time, middle school, those who have transitioned from from primary school to high school, congratulations and welcome. Those who have transitioned from from high school to tertiary, whichever institution, college, technicon, university, once again, congratulations and welcome. I hope that this year serves to be a very purpose-driven year for you. And above making everyone and anything else proud, I hope that you also make yourself proud. I have greeted. If you are rating my voice on some, I don't understand, why is this voice peculiarly deep or peculiarly weird, it is because we are we are dealing but we are dealing forward. So bear with me, maar come any high tides, we are here. It's time for a podcast, so we are here. We are doing it together. So if you hear a cough here and there, I hope there will be absolutely no cough. By all means, just no horror. We are dealing forward. Okay, the reason for this episode is to reconcile the books, the series of The Art of Forgetting, #forget the former things. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you for sharing episodes. A special thank you for liking and engaging with me, with engaging in your circle, with the uncomfortable conversations that we have here on the podcast, which is Offensive Hour. I am aware that I have not greeted nice L, and this is Offensive the High Hour. I am your favorite podcaster, and I am now your favorite blogger. I know if my voice was on maximum capacity, I would have had like a nice rhythm, a very soothing sound. So I am your favorite blogger as well. Thank you as well for everyone who has and is yet to, read the Lighthouse at the Harbor, which is the extension of the podcast, which is a blog where we just, have young debriefs. We have young debriefs about the podcast, or just about thoughts that happen pertaining to the podcast and certain things that don't necessarily make it on the podcast. Thank you so much to every guest. Pimelo, Utsile, thank you so much, Masejo. Thank you so much. You guys have really enriched the experience of the podcast. I mean, in interviewing you as guests, as people who are guests of the podcast, brand new guest who is Utsile, of the podcast, and even, just guests in my life, but, people that I also know. I'm so grateful that it is in this particular series where you guys were guests that there was a new development in relation to the podcast, in that we have a YouTube channel. Imagine a YouTube channel, because we are trying to also move into the visual space. So by God, we've been trying. I think it was just not the right time in the last year, but I am really believing that it's going to be a good time in this year where we will have impromptu videos. We will have actual visuals with the guests that we have in our brand new season and series, which I'm super chuffed for, actually. So before I continue, I'm just saying very much thank you, and really check out our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, share, and let's grow this uncomfortable common conversations in our spaces together. And I have kind of also taken the dubbing of the name of every person that listens, to the people who listen to Offensive the High Hour. Spotify gave us that at the time, a name of the listeners of this particular podcast. They call them, they called the listeners the adventurous. You adventure through, and which is so true, because if we are sailing through the high tides of whatever kind of social and wellness conversation, whether current, whether not so current, we are sailing through, and we are, going through an excursion. But we are going through and taking an excursion together, whether through one episode or through a series of episodes we go through together. So I'm so grateful, so grateful, so grateful. Like the podcast, in listening, in sharing, in saying, have you listened to Offense at the High Hour? Just holding it in a conversation and marketing it for us. I'm so grateful, so grateful. I have this saying that this blessing that I've sort of kind of adopted is, I want to say it in Xhosa, I want to say it in the Nguni language. Inkosi is it Zulu. Inkosi alibusi isibusi zolonke. Oh Jesus, I'm so sorry. Sorry for butchering, but may the Lord bless you all. We are coming, gonna be speaking all kinds of languages, in this podcast. But let's get into the gist of this episode so that I don't keep you long. I know that you're probably doing your washing, your laundry, you are in your car, my gosh, you are on your way to wherever taxi rank, you're on your way to the Gautrain, goodness, you're on your way to whichever train, you're on the bus, you are en route somewhere, or you're just chilling, with your friends, with your loved ones, and you're like, let's listen to this podcast. And I always say, as I post the what do you call this? As I post the episodes on Facebook, as I share them, I'm like, I hope that you are hydrated, and I hope once again you are having your warm cup of something great. For some odd reason, I believe that every episode of the High Hour, or of Into the High Hour, goes down well with a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, if you are a tea lover. It goes well. It goes really well. I don't know. Maybe it's a good biscuit to the tea and the biscuit. I am drinking coffee. In a cup that has a lot of hearts. It has gray hearts. It has what color is this? It has red hearts, and it has a gray lined hearts, because we are, just passing out love. We are passing out love, goodness. But yes, apparently it matters the kind of cup you use when you're drinking tea, when you're drinking coffee. It matters. So maybe check your cups, whether it is the color, whether it is the message. It matters, so that you don't find yourself drinking out of vessels of frustration. I go off ramp. But let's reconcile the art of forgetting. Hashtag forget the former things. I think this, I wrote something, so I'm just going to read. It's almost like a bulletin. It's from the High Hour desk. Goodness, it's from Offense at the High Hour desk. And it's like a young bulletin. I wrote this when I was in between cities, and I wrote this like last year already, and this was before I even knew that Masiro and I were going to have, the 2-part series of the December edition of the High Hour, which was also something new that we did, which I am so grateful for. So it served us in December, served us in January, and the likely parts of this February as well. So if you have not, yet listened to every single episode. There's not a lot of episodes in this series, actually, maybe like 5 or 6 in this series, which is hashtag forget the former things, which is the art of forgetting. I deviate, but the art, I'm gonna give us reasons as to why the art of forgetting. Like I said, it's like a bulletin. I don't know why it's taking a bulletin form, but let's go. So, the art of forgetting. I'm going to read, and I might hoy commentary as I read, but I believe that as I read, I'm going to try and read it nice and slow. And as I read it nice and slow, I hope that you catch the depth of it. I hope so. The art of forgetting means or is learning new habits to deal first and then forward, right? We don't craft forgetting, or we didn't craft forgetting to negate happenings. And when we say negate, to leave, happenings, emotions, and people. That wasn't the purpose of the art of forgetting, right? We crafted the art of forgetting so as to better human. Moreover, we crafted it to better understand and to better curate, to better build and to better gather more effective, healthier, and malicious-free ways, strategies, techniques, and methods to better hashtag forget the former things. If you have listened to the first couple of episodes with our various guests, you will hear that there are even in the debrief, you will hear that there are certain things that we go through, and there are certain events that we go through that leave like bitterness in our mouths and in our hearts and just in our circumference of being. And it is in these things that, or in these times, that we were saying, guys, let's forget the former things. And when I say we didn't craft the art of forgetting to negate happenings or to negate emotions or to negate people. But if it happens that certain people needed to leave, and if it happens that certain people and certain habits need to leave you for the betterment of yourself, for the betterment of the community, for the betterment of your maturity, in whatever essence, then it must happen. It must happen. And the art of forgetting is not a call to disarm ourselves from deep thinking of former things without actually seeing, without actually feeling, and without actually being and going through. It's not to say, no, mize your emotions, mize the people. Just find yourself in a mising disposition or in a mising comfort. That's not what we are saying. There are times to mize. I think it was the second or the first episode we did with Masiho in the series, where we were talking about where we said that silence is golden, but not all the time. So it's the same. Mising is golden, but not all the time. And I think I have learned that in this past year, even through this series, that there are times that you must go, and face things head on. Your emotions, yourself, people, situations, and circumstances, you must face them head on. And there are times where you must just, relax. And there are some times where you must just mise and say, wait again, I'm overlooking this. Not for it to pile up, but I'm overlooking this. I remember a post. I remember a post where someone was saying that we go through the valley of the shadow of death, but we are not meant to set up camp in the valley of the shadow of death. So we go through. We don't camp in a place or a time period that is designed for actually going through. And I think this is like one of the biggest parts of the heart of the art of forgetting, is that we wanted to amplify the message of the pastors of the Bible that says, break camp, stand up, take up your mat and believe that you are able, to live without hurt, to live without negative emotions, to live without condemnation, to live without, belittling yourself. You are able to live without a abusive recollections. You are able to live without that. You are able, and we are just, saying, man, you are able. You are able. And there's an art in doing it, right? So the hashtags of the series of the art of forgetting were not meant and are not meant as notice boards to just casually notice happenings. I know one of the hashtags is hashtag forget the former things, hashtag healing, something like that, hashtag December practice, things like that. It's not just for us to casually notice happenings or to disregard unpleasant, uncomfortable personal experiences. No. In fact, it is a call, and it has been a call to proactively deal forward. It's a call to be, it's a proactive call to intentionally spot the behaviors, to intentionally spot the feelings, to intentionally spot the person or persons, even if it's yourself, causing discomfort and unpleasantries, and purposefully then feel your feelings instantaneously, not to merely disregard. And why is this? Because sometimes we disregard to sweep under the carpet. And I'm sure this is someone saying. And when it's time to spring clean, it takes a while. And sometimes it feels like it takes forever. And in the spring cleaning, you find that there's a demand for hard work. Had we been proactive in just having good practices of forgetting, of forgetting, of forgiving, of going forward intentionally with dealing, forward intentionally, we would not need to, I'm looking for I want to speak Jwana, man. Rinse, di metse, rinse di bedding, re sweep under. Wait again, re tlatla molole. Goodness, that is the word I was looking for. Re tlatla molole the entire house because of the amount of dirt that has piled up. And the amount of dirt amounts to, your emotions, your emotional bank, what your thought patterns, the Bible would say. And the apostles and the prophets and the teachers and the overseers and the coaches and the mentors, they would say your thought patterns, so you nib it in the bud, and that is what we have been. That has been our heart here at the Art of Forgetting, hashtag forget the former things, more offense at the high hour, right? And that is why we proactively, there's a call to be proactive sweepers through anything and everything we go through. Not in a rushed and unfruitful manner, but in a, wait again, if it's time to deal, let's deal. Let's not wait for 10 years down the line. Let's not wait for 3 months down the line. If we are able to deal with things, and if we are able to press the delete button and press the I'm not going to ruminate, I'm not going to meditate on negative happenings, I'm going to press forward. So the art of forgetting has been and is a call to be deliberately aware, to actually give names to situations. This sounds like a psychologist or psychology book I read, to actually give names to situations and not people, right? Because we find ourselves, or we actually have the tendency of naming people. This person is such a bad person, and I'm using bad as a Christian. I know that there are names in the streets that thou shalt not use. Where we tag people, where we are in cancel culture, and we must also start to say, okay, yes, this person could have done better, but the situation, I felt hurt by the situation. Not this person is a hurtful person. I'm using that as an example. I felt misused and taken advantage of. Not this person is an advantage taker. You understand? And to probe, this call of the art of forgetting is to probe, is to question offense and to deal with stagnant grief caused by either regressive ways of mourning or our tendencies of denying emotions, or better yet, guilt settings and narrations that come from both justified and unjustified voices, including our own. Someone says, yes, condemnation is the actual word, and another person says amen to that, because sometimes we also just find ourselves where we condemn ourselves, and it is really an opportunity for you to forget the former things. And if you are a believer of Christ, you will know the scripture that says, there is therefore no more condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Oh, goodness. Goodness. Okay. The art of forgetting is and was to probe and propel us forward as myself, as a society, as a people, educated, experienced, not experienced, not educated, young, old, together, sisonke, kaufela, to probe us forward, to understand that although we are different in terms of our status and in terms of our statues, there are things we are able to learn from each other. Alice, we may learn how not to dabble in substance abuse because someone else narrated or told the story. Then it means that you don't need to go and, experiment on that when you are going through the most. Jorge, the chances of you, getting into a fight when you are high in substances, be it whichever one, it's high, or be it that you are grieving and you are wanting to drown your sorrows. I don't know, po papa, po mama, no drowning of sorrows in this year. We must talk through things. Oh goodness, we must talk through things. We must sit through things. If we are not going to talk, then let's just sit in awkwardness and say, okay, we sat. So the art of forgetting is for us to learn from each other, right? And to learn from other people's lived experiences, and to see that there are things that have been proved as red flags. Even as you read through books, and you read through journals, and you read through blogs, and you read through Instagram posts and X posts and Facebook posts, you can see, Jorge, there's certain things in people's lives that have led to not so great outcomes, and that can serve as a red flag for you. And you're like, actually, thank you so much for going through that on my behalf, so that should I find myself, or when I am finding myself in a very similar situation and platform, I know to do better, or I know what not to do. We may also learn how to be, through the art of forgetting, we may also learn, and we have learned actually, how to be intentionally kinder, intentionally gentler, and more patient with each other. Basically, applying grace. Because there are things that we go through or stay in that are similar, and actually leading on each other, whoever your other is. I'm not advocating for other weird things, but whoever your other is, be it your mom, your dad, your spouse, your husband, your wife, your best friend, your next door neighbor, your sister, your brother, be it whoever that other is, we can actually lean on each other as we go through both positive and daunting circumstances, which can cause it actually causes mental and physical reactions, whether it's good mental and physical reactions or it's negative mental and physical reactions. The art of forgetting is purposed to iron out practices that are both helpful and not. It is a reflective series. It has been a very reflective series that has sought and seeks to demonstrate the identification of personal grief and dealing habits, demonstrating this through talk, conversations, and opinions that may have had there is always a better way, even when the better way is costly and more intense than just YOLOing. Bacholo, YOLOing, I think at this juncture, we can say that YOLOing is you only live once. We'll deal with the backlash of YOLOing at a later stage, So, yes. And in and through the art of forgetting, we learned that in everyone's touchdowns, anyone's landings, whether pleasant or not, there is something to learn. So you don't have to write yourself off. I'm thinking of the I Blew It series. You don't have to write yourself off. You don't. And I'm thinking of the person who has made it to chartered accountancy. I'm thinking of the person who's made it into the big mansion. You don't have to write yourself off as well, from being able to gel with everyone else. You don't have to, you don't. Maybe there will be certain tricks and certain habits and certain ways of doing life, but don't discard yourself, especially in terms of social settings. Don't discard yourself. Even as introverts, I don't know why I'm saying this, but even as introverts, don't discard yourself that you are unable to gel with people. And even extroverts, I don't think extroverts in as much as introverts, but even extroverts, you don't have to write yourself off and say, I'm so much, I'm a lot in the social context, I have so much energy and it rubs people off. Man, there are ways. There are ways that we are able to learn and, to either amplify that or to just, accommodate. Now, it is worth noting that the art of forgetting and its hashtags were not and are not designed, nor were they intended for listeners, which are adventurous at this point, and conversationalists to learn to prematurely and deliberately take in the unhealthy habits as valid escapes or try me outs. No ma'am, no sir. I'm speaking to the relatively young audience here, I think the 13-year-old, the 16-year-old, the 17-year-old, the 18-year-old, the 21-year-old, the 25-year-old, my goodness, the 27-year-old, who would be like, oh no, I lost a parent, or oh no, I lost a brother, or oh no, someone said something to me that was really uncalled for, so I am justified to react in a negative manner. And I remember so-and-so on the podcast said this is what they did. But we are here to say that so-and-so also said that there were different ways, different ways in which they, at the end of themselves, came to and realized, okay, no, man, wait again, I could have acted better. I could have acted better. And when I came to myself and said, I could have acted better, I actually acted better. So this series is not to say to rationalize and to advocate for unhealthy anything, unhealthy habits, none. It's not. In fact, it is these unhealthy habits and not so great outcomes that have been highlighted and dived into during the duration of the podcast, that the awareness of them are simultaneously contrasted with other narratives and arguably better, more positive and more healthier options, which were found in the monologues, which are the debriefs, and in the dialogues, which are the guest episodes in the series, which in essence has always been to prompt us to choose better, to choose more healthier and more positive ways of #forgetting the former things, instead of going to your ex and instead of going to their workplace and being a not so great person, instead of sending hate mail. Is it hate mail? Sending hate mail on statuses, instead of throwing shade. Instead of throwing shade, and even if you feel justified, instead of throwing shade, there are healthier ways and more positive ways to deal with things. Instead of sitting in your room or with your friends or with your counsel and you feel so deflated and you stay in that deflated position or in that deflated state. We don't want that. So yes, so we are saying that there's always better, and always better and a healthier and a more positive way of forgetting the former things. You understand? Even when you cut ties with people, good, good. I have learned to say in my heart, I forgive them, Father. I forgive them. And even, I was told that Jesus said, Lord, I forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. And me, I was always battling and saying, no, they know what they are doing. I used to say that. I used to say, no, they know what they are doing, these people. There's no way. It is premeditated. Even those who premeditatedly, if this is a word, caused harm, whether grievous harm to your body, grievous harm to your spirit, grievous harm to your soul, grievous harm to your belongings, whatever grievous harm, even yourself, because sometimes you are the reason why you are in a rut, or you are in a not so situation. So you must also say, I forgive myself. Father, I forgive myself. Lord, I forgive myself. I did not know any better. Or even you can say, I knew better, but I chose not to do better. So let us, in our hearts, let our hearts be so immersed in being quick to forgive. I think I'm bringing teachings from, where I am at into the podcast, but we already started with this with Masiho. So there's always more positive ways of forgetting the former things, in terms of there being more edifying ways to do this. Like, for example, saying, I'm going to drink water instead of taking a beer bottle. I am going to take a walk instead of punching someone or slapping someone. I am going to seek out community instead of isolating, because then I find myself in a more recluse, in a more depressive state. I am going to stop drinking coffee because coffee makes me anxious. I'm going to start eating vegetables, even though I don't afford Koho Fruit Lovers market. I can get fruits here, thing, and I can eat it. I can choose to sleep early. I can choose to sleep early. I can choose, and this is forgetting the former things, right? And you forgetting to behold new things. I'm telling you, I'm in the sermons, I'm in the teachings there of the embassy. But it's you are forgetting so that you can behold. I remember, let me not remember, I'll remember in the next episode. But you are forgetting to behold, and what you behold must be better. It must be greater. It must be more virtuous, more positive. It must be, it must be building. It must be something that you are able to sustain yourself with. My goodness, if you need to go to therapy, go to therapy. My gosh, no stigma, no nothing attached to that. If you need couples counseling, go to couples counseling, basics. If you need family counseling and the family doesn't want to go to counseling, you can go by yourself, and you can be the positive change in that family. And if you need to let it out, I'm telling you, the better option of anything and for everything and for anything is really to pray and to choose Jesus as your Lord and Savior. I digress, but yes, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Also, here are certain announcements. I have a website. I'm looking for the right words. There is a website that you can find what I do. I am a voiceover artist. My God, this is something that it started a long time ago, but in the last year it actually came through. I am a voiceover artist. So if there's any voiceover artistry shenanigans or gigs and you see it, by all means pass it through to me. I am an MC of everything that is lovely. I MC weddings, I MC corporate gatherings, I MC academic gatherings, I MC, what else? Your birthdays, whether it is big, whether it's intimate. I MC your bridal showers, your baby showers. That's I MC that. I MC women conferences. My gosh. And if the men want to, I MC men conferences as well. I MC that. I am also a facilitator of good things. I am a conversationalist. So if at all you are doing all of these things, you are celebrating, and you are hosting, by all means, guys, I am the gal. So I will put the link to the website down below, and you will see it. You can visit it, you can inbox me there, send a message there, and we can start this process of going through the high tides together, even off of the podcast. This has been a debrief, a reconciliation that had a lot of sekhoa in it. It had a lot of sekhoa in it, but it has been that, and I believe and I trust that it was a good reconciling at the end of the second month. And as we gear up for the rest of the year, I hope that really we are super expectant, and that the year bears so much fruit. And once again, we will come through with testimonies that, oh my gosh, this was happening. And I actually was able to forget the former things in a very good way. I believe that the next episode, my voice will have matured even the more so. So thank you so much for listening. God bless you and your family. Thank you. I love you so much, but know that Jesus loves you more. Salang sintle. Bye bye.